Hello, everyone. Welcome to the World Mobile Alliance space. It is Saturday, Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, 2026. And starting the show off, we got myself. My name is Rob, along with Cal. You know him as Clover Nodes. And Cal, what's going on today?
How's it going, everybody? What a lovely Saturday. We have an exciting space for everyone today, and I'm doing great. Have lots of plans for today. It's a beautiful day. Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovebirds out there. And I'm doing great. How are you, Rob? I heard you're a little under the weather.
Yep. I'm been sick all week, and just it feels like it's getting worse, but it comes in waves. So like I'll feel good for an hour, then I'll feel like crap for an hour, and so we'll see how this goes. But the nice thing is, on top of having you here as hosting the show, we have two incredible guests today. And so we're going to be able to really, I think these guests, I mean, they can host their own shows, they can carry their own shows with how much knowledge and insight they have. And so no, there'll be no shortage of topics, there'll be no shortage of conversation. And I'm really looking forward to it. Um, so yeah, this is going to be a great show. We're going to start off talking about Earth nodes, but I'm sure we'll jump into tokens and network builder and everything else we have going on. So, Cal, am I coming through clearly for you? Can you hear me?
You are, but I think your mic needs to be turned on.
Interesting. Well, I
There you go.
apologize for that if that's the
There you go. It's
case.
a little bit better.
But maybe it's just part of my my stuffiness. My mic is sick too. But Cal, what's been going on this week? What's been happening?
So much. There's been a lots and lots of activity on the actual WMTX token. I mean, we've been trending on Coin Market Cap. Our community's been doing an absolutely amazing job with keeping us trending. There's been lots of different posts coming through. There was a point where we hit over 2 billion in trading volume on Binance, which was absolutely incredible to see. And lots. I mean, we had another EarthNodes sell out very quick. Obviously, with that came more users, more usage of the actual network, and so much. Right? I mean, we've had updates on Unity. There's a few updates that happen on Minutes Network as well. So overall, another successful week full of updates.
Nice. How's the mic sounding? Any better now?
The mic is sounding beautiful, just like today.
All right. Good deal. Well,
We also had the SUG network start, the CUG network, the closed user group network, and you're part of that. So maybe give our listeners a small update on how things have been going there.
Yeah. So I had a meeting with one of the team members who basically onboarded. He's in the process of onboarding everybody into the closed user group, and basically you walk through with him how to get started on everything. And so I was able to log in. They're providing a um, a server. They're running a Proxmox server just to get people in. So they basically give you a login for it. You go and then you start the download process, and you're able to just run through the install. And so the way things work is when they have to make a change, one single change to one file system, it can affect everything else. And so as they're going through finding these little things that need to get tweaked, it means that sometimes they have to restart the system. It means sometimes they have to go back and make sure that everything is integrated properly. And so I was able to get the majority of the install done, but I was not able to jump on and access it, access the actual the EarthNode network. And so that's something that as they continue the onboarding process, they're finalizing those updates, and everybody should be on board next week. But it was fun to just be able to get on there and talk with them for a bit, and then just go through the process. And I'll tell you right now, for an introductory process, it felt pretty good. it alleviated a lot of stress. Like, oh man, am I gonna be able to handle this? It's very simple and streamlined. They've done an amazing job of getting it to this point. And then as we were able to jump on and play around with it, I was able to find a few little hiccups. I was the first one to go, and I was able to find a few little hiccups, like there's a file in the wrong folder, or there was a permission that wasn't granted, so he had to go back and grant me a permission so I could do something. So, just little things. And it's going to take a little bit of time to get things cleaned up, but we're feeling pretty good about stuff. And so I think that the Earth nodes, I think it's going to be you've taken so long to get to this point, and we're right there, and we're starting to see it become a reality. And it's very, very exciting.
Trying to find that unmute button. That's amazing. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that things are moving on. There was a EarthNode mainnet post actually that went out this week as well, and the World Mobile Chain account did share the road to mainnet and how long is it going to take, and all the steps that need to happen before we actually hit that mainnet. And there's about 8 steps until we hit mainnet. Rob, if you don't mind pulling that post up, I did send it out to you. And it looks like the closed user group is going to have a few additional EarthNode operators that are going to be onboarded, right? And then they're going to be stabilizing things until they go into an audit. Once that audit passes and everything's been stabilized, everyone's migrating their test nodes to public infrastructure, or their own nodes technically, and then we're going into an incentivized public testnet, which will then allow everyone who wants to be involved and has a spare server to actually test this network. And after that, it looks like we're going to be hitting mainnet, and with that comes lots of interesting things, such as value-added services like VPN and storage as a service, and other interesting things that the team hasn't really talked about much that are going to be disclosed closer to mainnet. But also, probably one of the most exciting things that's going to happen is people are going to actually be able to stake their WMTX to EarthNode operators. And I know how excited a lot of EarthNode operators are going to be when that happens, because this is extra and additional income that they're going to have for themselves. So lots of exciting things happening around the World Mobile Chain, the WMTX token. Another very exciting thing, Rob, that actually happened this week was us releasing a very special t-shirt that me and you worked over the weekend. Mickey did a one-of-a-kind post that kind of struck me, and then you have it up there. And that post was called "You Are the Signal." So if I'm sure most of us here have read it, and it's if you haven't, then you should definitely do yourself a favor and read that post. But me and Rob came up with a really cool idea of actually turning this post into a t-shirt. And it was a Super Bowl weekend, but the idea came through. And regardless of us watching the Super Bowl and having all of these plans, we went back to work and we started working on this design. Rob, if you don't mind pulling the actual t-shirt, which, by the way, Rob was the designer behind this idea, and he designed the shirt, and I think he did a really good idea. So you can see it right here. It has the circle around the actual logo, and it says "You Are the Signal." The circle around is part of Mickey's actual post. I shouldn't say tweet anymore. It's no longer called Twitter. It's called X. So yeah, it has his post around the actual logo, and we named it "You Are the Signal." And then if you go on the back, I thought it'd be a really cool idea to actually embed this transaction on the World Mobile Chain so it can live forever, right? I mean, the whole idea is that we want immutability and having transactions be living on forever and ever. So I figured, why not post this actual message on the World Mobile Chain and put it as a QR code so anyone can actually scan the QR code, go to that transaction, and there's a few extra steps where you need to get to his actual message, but we made sure to put that in in our description so people are aware. And yeah, I mean, this is a unisex t-shirt, so it works for both girls and dudes. So if you haven't gotten your wife a Valentine's Day present, wink wink, you can be part of this community and buy this t-shirt. I think it's a really good cool idea. And honestly, like, Mickey has amazing posts, but this one kind of struck me, and I thought it was really special. So why not create a t-shirt from it?
Yeah, it's a very powerful post, and it's a good message, and it's very motivating, and it's nice to just be able to have this on there. We talked about designs on the website for the merch and everything else, and one of the things that we've been working on this week, and we're going to be releasing next week, is we're going to have a contest, and there's not just a one winner contest. It's a whatever comes in. If we could have 10 winners, we have one winner win 10 times, but we're going to do a merch contest, and we'll announce what it is, but it'll be for World Mobile, it'll be for Unity, it'll be for Minutes Network, it'll be for the Alliance. And basically, we're just looking if you want to help design some merch, and then you can win some free stuff from the website, from the merch store. And all the details will be coming out next week. But if you guys are creative, you want to see a certain design or a certain thing on a piece of merch, whether it's clothing or wall art or mugs or different items, be thinking about that, because we want to make sure that we are providing here at the merch store at the Alliance page just everything that you're interested in, and things that you'd want to wear, things that you'd want to own. And so we're definitely trying to get us. Cal, you did a great job of branding this community powered merch, and we want to make sure that that's reflected in what's available here, because the community is the one that's powering this, or the one that's creating it. And so yeah, we're looking forward to what that's going to look like. But we could talk about the merch store, we could talk about favorite t-shirts and whatever else, but I don't think that's why people are here today. We have a couple of incredible guests, and our first guest is someone that everyone is familiar with. If you're in the World Mobile community, you've read her posts, you've seen her on these spaces, you've seen her on the Reclaim uh, podcast with David and Koala Steve. And so everyone's very, very familiar with our dear friend WMTxLady. So we're gonna bring her up on the stage first.
Hi
But
guys,
hey, how's
how
it
you
going today?
doing? Doing great, doing great. Thank you for inviting me. Hope you're gonna feel better, Rob, soon. So
Oh, thank you. I'm sure I sound not great at the moment, but
you have a
but
little raspy voice, but I liked your designer skills. It was really looking good, the t-shirt. I have to check that out.
thank you. Thanks. Yeah, we're thrilled to have you here. It's always a better show when you're here, and the insights and everything else that you provide, we're very thankful for. So we appreciate you. Just say that in advance. We're glad you're here, and I'm looking forward to a real lively conversation with talking about EarthNodes and then everything else World Mobile Chain.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm excited too. So thank you for having me.
And by
Absolutely.
the way,
So
love the background. It's
I
amazing.
yes,
changed it for you guys because I remember last time I was looking back at the recordings and went like, I have to get a world mobile background. So I have one now. So it looks good.
nice.
Epic. Let's
Now,
go.
just so you know, we'll see if I jinx myself or if this truly is a magical elixir. But last time we were on here, you told me to keep drinking this on the shows. So I got the ginger beer,
Oh
the
yeah.
the Bundaberg. I don't know if it's coming through.
That's
Got some
gonna fix
Bundaberg.
Yeah, that's gonna fix the cough and the sweats off. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, our next guest is somebody that I was able to meet in person at Rare Evo this past year, and someone that's really kind of stood out anonymously because there's a certain wallet that's been buying Earth nodes and buying Earth nodes. I remember one time they got double digits in this wallet, and we're thinking, man, this is nuts. That where's this coming from? And then somebody did a little research, and they said, all right, it's Chrysalis Capital, and because there's an ADA handle in the wall that kept buying these things that was Chris, but I think there's another thing that somehow they were directed to Chrysalis at one point. and somebody did a little Google search. If you type in Chrysalis Capital, there is a Nigerian venture capital firm. So then everyone thought that whoever's buying this, there's this big VC firm in Nigeria that is buying up these EarthNodes. And so they ran that theory by me. I shared it on one of these shows once, and we just kind of figured, all right, cool, whatever. And then I'm at Rare Evo, and this guy walks up to me wearing this old school white striped Fulham jersey with the World Mobile logo. Cal, you have the same one. And I'm like, hey man, nice jersey. He goes, thanks. He goes, by the way, you've talked about me on your shows, and I just want to let you know I'm not Nigerian. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? And he ended up explaining to me that he does have a firm called Chrysalis Capital, but it's not. There's a couple of them. He's not based in Nigeria. He's based in the northeast part of the United States. And so, anyways, we got to know each other over the course of Rare Evo. Really sharp, really put together. I mean, he runs a capital fund, so I mean, he knows what's going on. But very, very excited for everyone to get to know my friend Brian from the Chris wallet from Chrysalis Capital. So with that, let's bring Brian up to the stage. Brian, I've got to say, you don't look stereotypical Nigerian. So
yeah, I get that a lot, Rob. So, you're not the first one to lead with the fact that I do not resemble a Nigerian venture capitalist. But it's great to be here finally. And yeah, I did really enjoy meeting you, Rob, in person during Rare Evo 2025 in Las Vegas. So it's great to finally, join you here. And Cal, I had, of course, seen your various posts online, hyping up World Mobile, educating people. So it's also wonderful to finally be in conversation with you as well. And of course, WMTxLady. In my investment research over the past many years, you've definitely stood out as having an extremely high quality level of understanding, and the clarity with which you're able to convey that understanding has been great for investment research, but also just something that I have also strived to emulate in my own internal partner communications. So it's wonderful to see you as well.
Nice to meet you too.
So Brian, if you wouldn't mind just kind of give us some background. We want to dive into what you're doing, how you got to this point with owning EarthNodes. We saw that you just swept up 6 of them last week. I kind of want to hear what your background is, what got you interested in EarthNodes, and then what's led you and your fund to being the largest individual holder of EarthNodes. I think that there's gonna be a lot of discussion about EarthNodes here as you're able to explain these things and really dive into some of the numbers.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to. And so I guess I can just, in being a bit more community facing now, taking this step on this podcast, I definitely would love to give some context about just my background individually. And so, yeah, I'm a Massachusetts native, and that's where I live now as well. And I went to Harvard, and I studied linguistics and music at Harvard. So as you might be seeing, not only am I not a Nigerian venture capitalist, but my educational background does not scream crypto bro either. And so it sort of was a long story in terms of how that shift happened. But actually, after college, I was thinking I would actually explore one of 2 paths. The first that was on my mind was actually becoming something like a German teacher, because I loved languages and linguistics and was interested in teaching as well. And so that was something I was thinking about. I also grew up being a musician and playing trombone, actually very intensely, high school and college, as well as being a singer in college. And I was also thinking about pursuing a master's in trombone performance, of all things, after college, and to potentially pursue that. So as you can see, my background in education is definitely not directly sort of linked to the work I'm doing now. So needless to say, I did not expect to be sort of in the career path I am now, and especially with this very specific focus on EarthNodes that I do now have in my investment work. So I mean, after college, I had been dealing with some pretty severe sort of health issues and chronic pain related issues. And that sort of threw me off track a bit from those things that I mentioned. And so sort of in those years of trial and error, figuring out a path, a family friend at the time was like, hey, if you're interested in learning about technology, which I always have been, he's like, you should learn about crypto. Like, yeah, it seems like people are building businesses, Ethereum, whatever. And I was like, yes, I will do that. It felt very like, cool. I'm going to learn and see what that's all about. Cause at that time I sort of needed a way to engage myself productively. And honestly, I just started some full-time crypto research on February 1st, 2020. So I actually just reached a 6-year anniversary beginning of this month of sort of going from zero crypto knowledge to the whole journey in the past 6 years. And, there are 3 main things that stood out. I mean, for me personally, this industry served a couple main purposes. One, for me, sort of struggling and needing something to engage myself, it was definitely technologically complex and interesting enough to engage myself and to challenge myself. And second, I mean, also from an emotional and psychological perspective, it definitely paints such a bright future. The crypto industry as a whole, this is, why we're here with World Mobile. The industry as a whole paints this picture of a better future and shows us so many things that are possible that were never possible in traditional industries and technologies. And so that also really, it helped it stick. It helped me really want to keep this self-directed study going very intensely, even from the beginning. And then, beyond that, very early on in the first few months of my self-directed research, at that point, focusing on self-directed investing just with my own funds, very early on, I definitely became, started to gravitate towards Cardano, just because, many people who overlap with World Mobile have a similar experience, just really appreciating and understanding the rigor and the comprehensive sort of vision of Cardano and just how compelling that is in terms of, being an example of this bright future painted by this whole industry. And so, yeah, that was an incredible discovery back in 2020. And of course, there's a lot of luck and timing in a path like this, where, of course, February, March of 2020 was bad for a lot of reasons in the market. But when you're starting out at that time, it's incredibly fortuitous. So, for me, trying to find a path forward during a difficult time in my life, it very much allowed me, that early success allowed me to just simply continue doing this research and exploring. And so, yes, I mean, February 1st, 2020 through let's say August 2022, that was when I was doing self-directed research and investing with a focus on the Cardano ecosystem and the overlapping and adjacent projects that have touched the Cardano ecosystem. And needless to say, many people who were in the market at that time, there's a bit of an up and down, I would say, just a little bit of ups and downs during that period, which was definitely a wild thing to experience firsthand. But after that was all said and done in summer of 2022, I was like, you know what? This is a crazy market, but incredibly promising. And I sort of believed that my knowledge was very, very valuable. And I was like, you know what? I want to keep doing this self-directed investing, but I actually just want to create a structure around it where I can start to bring in outside capital to make it more of a career or a potential long-term job. So that's when Chrysalis Capital was born in fall of 2022. And also the Chris Wallet was also born that soon thereafter. And yeah, and so, I continue sort of my same research cadence and the same sort of purview of projects and research avenues that are projects within the Cardano ecosystem or overlapping, still continuing along with that process. And in terms of now, the original question that you asked, in terms of getting closer to this EarthNode strategy. So over time, definitely, as I continued researching these various projects adjacent to Cardano, I've really loved so many of them, and there's so much high quality work and so many very important and real problems being solved in very intelligent and sensible ways that are very rapidly moving towards the mass adoption and just basic usability for average non-crypto literate people, which is wonderful. However, over that time, I definitely started to see World Mobile diverge very noticeably in terms of its ability to implement and successfully move towards its stated goals. And even, in the beginning, I've been following World Mobile since, late 2020. Whenever it initially started to become more prominent in the Cardano ecosystem, really during that time is when I started following it very, very religiously and obsessively, like all the other projects. And so, it's been a long history of following many projects, but yeah, in the past 2-3 years, definitely more like the past 1.5 to 2 years, the rate of progress of World Mobile has really diverged in a positive way relative to many of the other projects that I had been researching. And so that's one part of it. And then in terms of how my conviction has increased over time, and then obviously we're going to talk more about details and numbers and what we've actually seen in the growth. But in terms of just my path, just the conviction definitely grew and grew over time from an intuitive standpoint, as
So
well
when
as
you
quantitative.
when you looked into World Mobile, you said, "Hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to find some way to do it. Here's an opportunity for me." Obviously, you jumped into EarthNodes pretty heavy. Did you start that with the original reservations? Were you part of the auctions, or did you start buying things on the secondary market?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. So I've definitely, my fund, we've bought all of the EarthNodes off of the secondary market, specifically JPEG Store. Just that's the biggest NFT marketplace on Cardano. And yeah, just a public market where these are traded as a secondary market. And yeah, so a funny story about that is in my initial research and networking towards the beginning of my fund, I had connected with a person who many people in Cardano would know, Andrew Westberg, who is sort of one of the original savants of the Cardano ecosystem, extremely knowledgeable about Cardano itself and its inner workings, and has created many products on Cardano. For example, the Firehose engine that runs drip drops. And, he was originally the CTO of Noom, which unfortunately is no longer active, but now he's the CTO of W3I, which is the company behind the Moneta asset-backed stablecoin on Cardano. But in any case, I connected with him, and then in 2022, and then summer of 2023, he reaches out to me directly, and he's like, "Hey, I know you're a big investor in the space. We talked, and you said you liked World Mobile. If you've ever considered owning an EarthNode," he said he was creating a company to run EarthNodes as a service. And that was something I had never considered actually before. And at first I was like, "Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. I'll think about it." And then after the next couple of weeks, I was like, "Wait, this is an incredible opportunity." And it just clicked because I was like, yes, of course there, is a entire class of businesses that are running nodes as a service, as we do see across the crypto market as a whole, right? With staking nodes as a service, or proof of stake, running proof of stake nodes as a service is a very common business pattern across the whole crypto space. So after a couple of weeks of thinking about it, it just kind of clicked of like, yes, I'm already, have this investment thesis for holding World Mobile token. And yeah, that connection with Andrew definitely allowed me to evolve my fund strategy to now consider and acquire owning EarthNodes to run in cooperation with an operator as a service. So that was really the enabling factor. And I consider myself extremely fortunate to have had that connection with Andrew and for him to have reached out, because, despite being crypto native and researching it, I just didn't think that I would be able to participate in this way. And like many others who have joined the World Mobile ecosystem to participate, once I realized that it was possible, and in my sense, the EarthNode side of it, it has just become a totally different ball game. And I know Cal has posted a lot of content about your experience having this experience of game changing. You change from a speculation to more of a revenue focus, and it's just a totally different model, which, of course, we will get into a bit more in detail. But that was a really exciting opportunity. And yeah, once it clicked of like, oh, I can do this. And I don't, for me as a fund manager, a very small fund manager, I was like, oh, I can do this without really changing what I'm doing, because I'm still just holding Cardano native assets. In this case, it's now EarthNode NFTs. And
Well, I think I think there's several people here who've started in a similar situation. For example, I have a Cardano stake pool, and when I decided I wanted to do that, I didn't know how to operate it. I didn't know how to do anything there, and so I had somebody run it for me, and paid a portion of my rewards and earnings to that person to operate it for me until I could learn to do it myself. And I know there's several people here who are in similar situations, but I think what's encouraging there is when you say that, you're coming in from a strictly financial aspect with this fund, and you're able to purchase these assets, and you don't have to be everything to everyone. You have people that are going to be able to operate things for you, so you can focus more on the numbers. And I want to kind of get into the numbers with you, because you've clearly made, with the last I checked, you had 41 EarthNodes in that one wallet. I don't know if you have more, but there's 41 in that wallet. And
so as of last week, that wallet, and that is, the only wallet with EarthNodes, but yeah, it is 42 at this point.
42. That's the meaning of life, according to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So there you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you're at 42, and clearly a massive investment, a massive belief in it. We have an article that you wrote and for your investors, but you kind of changed it up a little bit and you made it public so people could view it. I'm going to share that here, but I'd like you to go through this a little bit. And what I'm wondering is, if Lady, if you want to jump in as well, and just kind of as you guys start talking things, because obviously Lady has done a ton in terms of writing articles about the complexity of WMTX, and also the trajectory that we could see with the token. And I'd love to get some back and forth about the EarthNodes, and the opportunities are there, and based on your research, based on Lady's research, as far as what the token can do and how you think that can intertwine, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But
before we do that, Rob, I mean, I'm sorry to stop it, but I know everyone here knows who WMTxLady is, but there is some people like from the Zebek community that maybe don't know who WMTxLady is. So do you mind introducing yourself to everyone who's listening, and how you got into World Mobile before we move into this thesis that Brian has wrote?
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to you, Brian. I think I have a bit of the same trajectory. I got into Cardano myself in 2017. I have a tech background. I think that what you said is true. You come in the crypto world because there's a shared vision of doing things better and having another vision for how the world can operate. And for me, I discovered World Mobile in 2022 when I had to speak at a conference, and they asked me to give a presentation on a project that was really showing real life adoption. And that's when I found World Mobile. At that point, they were just deploying the proof of concept in Zanzibar. And so it really piqued my interest. And from that moment on, I just grew into it, started following it. And for me, the real world adoption metrics that we see in World Mobile are really, really unique compared to anything else in this space. And so I started off on Twitter, being a little bit anonymous, starting off with long detailed threads, but I love to write. So that kind of evolved in more long form articles. And I think that over a year ago. World Mobile Alliance guys, I think it was Cal that reached out to me through X, and that wanted to know if I was willing to come up for a call, and that's how it evolved a bit. So voila, here I am.
All right, yeah, it's wonderful to meet you, of course, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into the nitty gritty and the numbers and details, and yeah, So I think Rob's going to share this blog post that is an excerpt from a recent internal partner communication from the Q4 that I wrote at a time when obviously the markets did incredibly poorly in Q4, but I was also seeing World Mobile continue going from strength to strength, as we all here in the community intuitively and objectively see. And so I had written a large sort of synthesis, comprehensive explanation of where World Mobile is and just the incredible strength. And this is an excerpt from that communication that I tweaked a little bit for a broader audience, give a little introduction to myself. But for now, I'd love for Rob to scroll down to just a couple of tables that, get right into the nitty gritty of just some of the growth that we've been seeing. And this is a public blog, and I wanted to share it with Rob so that we could share it with everyone watching. And I believe the URL is in the notes and the description of the show, as well as
I just posted them to the chat, but they're also in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, so the main first table is down. It's sort of towards the bottom. It's this World Mobile's explosive growth trajectory. And to be honest, even though I had been following World Mobile for over 5 years, I had been following in my own research and intuitively grasping and appreciating the explosive growth trajectory as we see the posts of the numbers and just how blisteringly fast the growth has been, even in this earliest phase before Network Builder. But in my pursuit to share the full picture with my investors this past quarter, I made this table, which is something I had never even done for myself, because you could just see it intuitively over time, how quickly it was growing, but I wanted to quantify it. And so this is something that I had actually never seen in one place in the World Mobile ecosystem. So I just combined some of the posts. There's a community member, I forget their name, but they post yearly growth snapshots from the EarthNode ecosystem metrics page. And I use that and I reference it below. And then also the standard ecosystem metrics page. So essentially, just at a glance, the growth numbers that we're seeing already are absolutely ludicrous in terms of the CAGRs, the compound annual growth rates. And we do obviously have to take the context that this is the earliest stages of growth, which are more likely to have higher percentage growth just because you're starting from a lower number to begin with. However, we're getting to the point where it's been 3.5 years of time window for this chart. That is a long time to be working this hard in the sense of it showcases long-term commitment to this growth from the World Mobile team and that sharing economy. So, we just see EarthNodes growing at over 650% annually. The daily consumption is over 940% yearly. The user growth is 378% yearly. And then the revenue, it is a shorter time window. There was less data here because on the ecosystem metrics page, it only starts in June 2024. But I took that anyways. And you also just see this incredibly aesthetically pleasing order of magnitude sort of pattern that is just very striking, even if it is a shorter span of data. 4,000, 40,000, 400,000. Like this table it is the early growth window. So it's hard to say, oh, wow, this is going to, definitely continue forever because, that's very hard to extrapolate. But just to see what they've done thus far, this really does it justice, I think, in a very punchy way.
I think how I framed it in my article is that Zanzibar was a proof of concept. And then what they did afterwards was the proof of scale. So I agree indeed with you that probably those numbers, because now we're in the millions already, but the growth is just really, really impressive, especially if you take December 2024, because Rob sent me through the link last night. And this morning I read through your article, which is extremely well written, by the way. I can only recommend it to the people watching. But indeed, that table stood out. I was like, okay, this captures what is being done.
That is excellent to hear. Thank you for that positive feedback. And yeah, that's really affirming to know that this idea in particular of this table was, effective at its just basic goal of sort of, it's meant to sort of be a head turner of like, oh, these are objective metrics, but also like, wow, look at those CAGRs. That's incredible. And over like a 3.5 year, this isn't a 6-12 month period. It's multi-year already. So it is significant, I think.
Have you also maybe done a forecast with the elements that we know right now, the goals that are being laid out for the US, maybe South Korea? I know that there's talk about the Philippines right now. Do you also do that for your investors?
I have not done that yet. I think that definitely would be the logical next step from a table like this, would be to try to incorporate those other elements that we see coming in parallel. And yeah, I definitely think that would be a wonderful exercise. Definitely a bit, for me, it's definitely a bit less, like a bit less important, or just it's harder to rely on those specific projections. Yeah. I mean, it is, I think it would be useful. And below, the next thing we're going to go into with this article is just some very basic EarthNode revenue and valuation models, which I think, to me, that has always made a bit more sense because it's easier to simplify that model. I would be very interested to try to, forecast what the future growth would be, though, in these metrics. That could be an interesting exercise to pull in the various elements of the sharing economy. But yeah, so this table, I'm glad it had a positive, effect on the experience for WMTxLady and hopefully everyone else who can look at it. But Rob, if you wouldn't mind scrolling down to the next thing, the appendix. Basically, I do a very simple revenue modeling for an EarthNode. So it's a per EarthNode revenue model. And there are essentially there are a handful of assumptions basically that I go into with this model. And this is sort of modeling just in the US. So I'm saying, okay, if World Mobile didn't exist anywhere else, but just in the US, with sort of a specific average revenue per user. So that ARPU is what it's called, is $30 a month. So I chose that as deliberately middle of the road, relatively conservative, based on the range of new plans going from $10 to $50. I think 30 is pretty conservative and safe for economies such as the US or South Korea or the UK. But we're just looking at the US. So US only, $30 a month per user. And then we assume that all EarthNodes are just basically all EarthNodes are essentially equal economic units of the back end of World Mobile. And so we assume that all EarthNodes are earning the same amount, given the same satisfactory performance for just helping the network validate and settle the network usage. And then we also are ignoring any other value-added services or tokenomic incentives. So it's just the basic function of how much revenue is being brought in from basic internet usage, and then just from that basic internet usage and revenues, what would the average EarthNode make? And the last assumption actually is that the EarthNodes would have sort of a fixed 10% operational overhead margin, where we just assume that 10% of all revenues would be spent to operate the EarthNode in perpetuity, right? And this, I think, is also very generous. Even, later on when revenues grow, I think revenues may outpace computational requirements quite significantly. So with all those assumptions there, it's just very bare bones EarthNode understanding. So we just go through here a simple table of US market share, which is assumed to be 300 million in this model. And this also in the context of Mickey Watkins has obviously laid out incredibly ambitious worldwide targets, but for the US, he has had talks of anywhere from 1% to 10% of the US market share in the long term. And so, these market share numbers are definitely still on the lower end, right? For just the US, still ignoring the rest of the world. So similarly to the other table that we saw, the purpose of this is just to sort of showcase in the simplest mental model, how quickly could EarthNode revenues increase and how these numbers sort of balloon very rapidly with even moderate adoption relative to the stated goals for the US adoption. And so, as we can see here, like 0.03% of US market share, 90K users, remember, $30 a month per user. We see annual total network revenue, and then each EarthNode would annually be making 2.9K, and then we just scale that up. It's just a linear in this, in this model. It's just a simple linear function multiplied by the growing with linearly with users, because the ARPU is always the same. So so we see, even with 0.1% of US market share, 9.7K per EarthNode, 0.5% market share, which is 1.5 million users, that 48K. So it really just, in terms of the relative to the stated goals and what I think is very, possible of 1 to 2 million US users in the short term, and then upwards of 10 million US users in the longer term, you just see how these numbers can very rapidly balloon. And so these revenue numbers have that effect of, wow, they can grow rapidly. And this is just a simplified model in the US, no value added services, no tokenomic incentives either. So I'm taking away all the crypto native side, just saying, how does telecom revenue flow to EarthNodes? And so, you can see how the numbers go up. 3 million users, 1% of the US market is already, 97K, in this model, simplified model. And and so this says, wow, okay, the cash flows can really potentially balloon drastically. And so, and then this sort of has a companion table that's right underneath it, which says, okay, given these revenue numbers in this simplified EarthNode model, we start to then talk about, what would the secondary market value of the EarthNode itself be? And I just use a simple discounted cash flow valuation using a discount rate that would be, common in a very stable telecom grade in revenue stream. And so I use a 10% discount rate. So basically that means you take the yearly revenue and you can multiply by 10 to see what the present value of all future cash flows, or maybe a 10-year future cash flows, but what the present value of that business would be. And so then we start again, when you put the annual, free cash flow per EarthNode, but when you apply the discount rate for the value of the business, then you start to say, oh, wow, in those smaller US market share numbers, the actual value of the EarthNode business balloons even faster because of the discount rate mechanism, where you're multiplying the yearly revenue by the discount rate, or using the discount rate. And so this too also, I think, is a way that I've been thinking about it, where it's the dual streams of value accrual, where it's the actual cash flows themselves, but then because the EarthNodes are NFTs that are liquid and tradable and inherit the properties of the public blockchain, they will have a secondary market value pop up, because that's what, that's just what happens, with tradable assets like this that have value. And I just, it's very likely that the secondary market will reprice the value of the EarthNode business in a way that's similar to this simplified model.
Absolutely amazing. I did also read your thesis this morning as well, and I think you've done an excellent job. I can see a lot of people in the comments are also enjoying the stream. I can see a few people share the stream, so we appreciate it. EarthNodes, Zebekman, thank you for sharing the stream. If you haven't shared it, please like this show wherever you're watching, from YouTube Live, from X, like it and share it so more people see it and watch it later as it is recorded. Also, I see a couple questions from our community coming through. We'll have a little segment as well, and we'll get to those questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you post them below in the comments, and we'll ask WMTxLady or Brian. Yeah, I do have a question for you, Brian, around this thesis, because you modeled the EarthNode cash flow using a pretty conservative assumptions, and still landed on a massive implied valuation. So what is, in your opinion, what is the single assumption critics kind of overlook the most when they dismiss this thesis?
So the question is, what is the assumption? What do critics overlook when they criticize the thesis? Is that the question?
Correct.
Okay. Yes. So this is a very conservative, very conservative model, believe it or not, despite the fact that these numbers do get so large so quickly relative to in a relatively low adoption scenario compared with the goals in the US.
Right.
So I think the biggest, well, so to me, it feels like the actual revenue flows to the EarthNodes is the thing that is the most straightforward, where the EarthNodes are simply 1/1000th of the function of a mobile core, right? The World Mobile's mobile core, which is the backend that every mobile network has. And so to me, just, talking about network revenues and how those could flow to EarthNode network, I think based on the conservative estimates, I think the biggest thing is just seeing the actual ability to gain users, right? And gain revenue. I think that is actually where the picture becomes much more complicated, right? Because this model is simple because we see, we just see revenues grow with users, which we know will happen, right? Like that is what we know will happen. But the hardest thing is seeing how the whole network comes together with gaining those users, because the EarthNode is downstream of all of that, right? I think that is sort of the bridge to gap, is understanding how World Mobile Sharing Economy is efficient and effective to allow this type of user growth with conservative, ARPUs like that, to then just create this pot of network revenue that can be flowed into the EarthNode ecosystem. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, and that goes back to less of the EarthNode specifically, but just to the understanding of World Mobile as a whole, as having these multiple sides, the AirNode side with the sharing economy, and then this back-end distributed mobile core element that is downstream of the coverage and value creation of the AirNode deployments. So yeah, to me, it's less about understanding each individual part and understanding, rather than understanding how they connect and feed into one another, which is why the EarthNode thesis has been so fascinating and enjoyable to come across and develop, because it takes so many layers of understanding need to happen to be able to find, but then also understand something like the EarthNode NFT, and then to, create certain simple models like this. But yeah, I think that synthesizing and connecting the elements is really the key, because you see this and you're like, yep, with the revenue, that's what they'd be, making, and that's what they'd be worth. But how do we even get to 3 million US users? Like that seems like a lot, but yeah, you have to understand the sharing economy model to understand that that's not actually that far-fetched.
I had a question.
And honestly, we've seen it.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to add. It really is not. It's been proven and done many times over by different companies, and these companies actually have never used a sharing economy to get to that point, and they've had a pretty centralized approach to customer acquisition. So I think when you consider everything of how World Mobile is structured, this 3 million is really not that far fetched. So I do absolutely 100% agree over here. Sorry, WMTX lady, go ahead.
No. I just had a question concerning the operational model. You said that you have 42 EarthNodes right now.
Yes.
Is their ambition one to add even more? So I can imagine that if you can onboard more investors, that maybe that number can grow. But how does the operational structure work of managing that amount of EarthNodes?
Yes, great question. So as I mentioned, I had connected with Andrew Westberg, who had reached out and was the whole impetus behind me starting this part of my investment strategy. And he started a company called Mountain EarthNodes, and with a couple of other Cardano stake pool operator veterans. And I believe now it is run by Andrew Westberg of Noom, and now of W3I with Moneta. And he runs the Blue Cheese Steakhouse Cardano stake pool. And then we have Eric Long of Azure ADA stake pools. And we have Ray Mata of Grow Pools. And so right now that's this company that's running EarthNodes as a service. And I'm simply partnering with them to be the operator. And Eric Long is sort of taking the helm of the technical expertise side. And he, as per the name of his Cardano pools, he loves Microsoft Azure and is incredibly skilled at running a lot of nodes and Kubernetes orchestration and all the whole 9 yards. And so that's currently the focus of Mountain EarthNodes is using his expertise and basically deploying on cloud and having distribution of servers and at his management.
We have a question from the crowd coming from Hydrex Nodes, and he is asking Brian, how do you see EarthNodes evolving in the future? And are EarthNodes a better investment than WMTX?
Nice. Thank you for the question. So I think very early on, even in the initial white paper, I remember reading back in like 2022 or even 2021, they had made it very clear that the EarthNode network, because of its decentralization, could and would evolve to become much more than just an IPDR telecom validation network, because decentralization allows this modularity and more total compute power, honestly, for a lower centralized CapEx. So essentially, long story short, it really lies in the value-added services. And this is a narrative that you for sure are already familiar with, Hydrex. But I do think that this is something that, while it is a little vague, with only a couple concrete examples now, those examples being storage as a service and VPN as a service, very tangible examples, I think the EarthNode network really does provide flexibility to genuinely, fulfill this vision of once you connect the unconnected, then you bank the unbanked. And, bank the unbanked is a very kind of classical crypto thing that I don't really think does justice to the EarthNode network, because it's okay, bank the unbanked. What does that even mean? It's just saying you're providing a service and a tool and infrastructure that a person didn't have before because they didn't have internet. And so bank the unbanked is like, oh, it's just the financial side of it. But with EarthNodes, it opens up World Mobile to basically become this Amazon-like everything company. That's sort of how I viewed it for a while, is the different modules of value-added services create like an app store, right? It's like a marketplace of additional services and modules that could be built for the EarthNode network and could serve users, directly through World Mobile's connectivity services that we can imagine, and those that I think we cannot imagine. So that's what I think the EarthNode is going, is more of an everything platform that is more application agnostic. And, obviously for EarthNodes, that provides more and more revenue streams beyond just the IPDR settlement. And the second question is very, for some, maybe triggering. But no, it's like a really fascinating question. And there's one element, I think, of my EarthNode investment thesis that this touches on, I think would be relevant. So before I started buying EarthNodes, I had been following World Mobile and World Mobile Token for a while. And obviously, I was holding World Mobile Token in my company and was like, yes, this is high utility. It has a great future. I see this appreciating value, good investment. And then I started thinking about owning EarthNodes and, talking about, with Andrew about like what that actually looked like. But one of, I think, the most underappreciated aspects of EarthNodes relative to World Mobile Token that makes EarthNodes an incredible asymmetric upside is that EarthNodes are in some sense, as an investment, right? Regardless of the business side, as an investment, EarthNodes are sort of they're almost a superset of the World Mobile Token investment, because literally EarthNodes contain 100,000 World Mobile tokens. So one of the much more nuanced points that I've used a lot in making my purchasing decisions is the fact that I sort of started having these price targets not that much higher than where we are now, but conservative, but still very growth for the World Mobile Token, and then seeing EarthNodes being listed at a price that would make their if World Mobile Token were to get to certain targets, then as a business, the EarthNode would have basically broken even, so to speak, from a balance sheet perspective. And so, just like as an example, just for concrete numbers, most of the EarthNodes have sold for between, let's say, $20,000 and $35,000 over the past 2.5 years. And so at any given time, if you're to buy an EarthNode, depending on what your World Mobile Token price thesis is, if your thesis is that World Mobile Token is going to be at least 35 cents in the long term, then what you're essentially saying is that, okay, when the World Mobile Token gets to that, whatever price that I bought the EarthNode is, so if I bought EarthNode at $35,000, if World Mobile Token gets to 35 cents, from a balance sheet perspective, you've earned back what you've spent for the business, because you bought the business and 100,000 World Mobile tokens for 35,000. But if World Mobile Token is 35 cents, then you've now recouped that expenditure and you have a capital asset that is just worth 35,000 because of the market dynamics of World Mobile as a liquid token. And now the business it's not free, but it's, every dollar you make in revenue is pure profit from a balance sheet perspective. And so that is a very nuanced point that I think, a lot of people, I think a lot of people might not have been aware of or really thought about it like that. But yeah, so that sort of is the interesting question, is that they're very similar, EarthNodes and World Mobile Token, precisely because EarthNodes contain World Mobile Token, but they're also a business. So it just creates a very interesting additional element. And this is the last thing I'll say. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but so the simplified valuation model that I had in the blog post, that was just the fair market valuation, the DCF valuation of the EarthNode business. It is not the fair market valuation of the EarthNode NFT, which is equal to the DCF value of the business at any given time, plus the market value of 100,000 World Mobile tokens at that time. So, right, that's just another example of how that model was very, very conservative, because, people in the audience here are like, yeah, like, World Mobile's probably going to be above 35 cents or above 50 cents, in the long term. That doesn't seem too far-fetched. But if you start to calculate that into the actual value of the EarthNode NFT, a lot of the prices that people have sold the NFTs look quite foolish. So yeah, so that's just sort of how those two things interact in my mind.
Very, very good answer. Hydrex does appreciate it. And I do have a question for both of you guys, WMTxLady and you, Brian. And the question is, if you had to explain World Mobile in one sentence to someone who hates crypto, what would you say to them? And we'll start with WMTxLady, because ladies first.
I think that just by the sheer length of my articles, Gal, you kind of know that in one sentence it is extremely complicated.
Very hard. It's a hard
Yeah,
question.
That's your sentence. It's extremely complicated.
yeah. I mean,
All right,
it's
all
like
right, all right.
it's
Let's
like
reframe
onion.
it. We'll let
Yeah,
it be 2 or 3 sentences.
yeah. I mean, people in the world mobile community share a lot of the same passion, and I can also sense it in Brian, the way that he explains it, and I can sense that he really has a lot of passion for this project. But from the moment that to non-crypto people you talk about crypto, it's like an immediate reaction of, oh, but that is going to be a scam, or that is not going to work. So explaining it to someone that is non-crypto, nowadays I like to explain it with Network Builder a bit as the McDonald's franchise, like the official account of World Mobile also does. So explain how you can become a telecom operator, how you can have rights, how you can be how you can onboard and deploy EarthNodes. So for me to explain it really in 1 or 2 or 3 sentences, it's complicated. I would say it's a network owned, built, and used by the people. So that's a little bit, if you're looking for one sentence, I would go with that. But further than that, it really requires a lot of study, and you can see it just with the EarthNode aspect, just that Brian did. But once you like go into the intricate layers of how everything co-works together, how the token works, Mickey just said it this week, and I know that you're excited about this too, Cal. And me personally, I think it's going to be great. But EarthNodes NFT staking, I mean, that is sticky staking at its best. That means that if you operate a business and you want to have extra yield, you stake it for extra yield in your business. So it's not like most of the time in crypto when you stake and unstake when the price goes a bit higher. So all of those aspects are just really fascinating, but there are a lot of human parameters that come along with it that are not that easy to be modeled. But I mean, when I share Nikki, when I hear Mickey talk about we're going for the king of crypto, I'm like right at it. I think that we can really see an explosive growth if we can obtain those real world adoption numbers like we see here in the US. Give us 1 to 2 million customers. I mean, it's going to be easy top 10, like I wrote last week.
Yeah, I think
Sorry for that long answer, Carl.
No, I love it. I love it. That's what I was actually looking for. So that was a really good answer, which kind of reminds me of I did a post today, and I was with my brother-in-law last night, and we're just chatting about, he loves AI and he's really into what's going on around our space lately, and he knows about WMTX and he knows about World Mobile, but he's not really into our community as much as I am. And he actually saw on CoinMarketCap as a trending token, and it's what he told me kind of like struck me to write this post, because he said, hey, wow, I'm like so tired of these memes everywhere, and like all this liquidity is like being drained from our space, and it's just so refreshing to see a utility backed token that has a real world revenue backing finally trend on CoinMarketCap. So I'm really happy to see you guys are winning. So I had to like share it with everyone, and what you just said kind of reminded me of this. Like, people are starting to take notice of WMTX, and I feel like we're in this interesting stage of our crypto stage, where of our markets, where people are now tired of being drained by no substance, and I feel like people are finally starting to wake up to projects that actually bring in real revenue from the outside world, from the Web 2 world into our Web 3 space. And I think there's no better project out there than WMTX that does that. So this is the reason why I told them we're trending on CoinMarketCap. People are starting to finally wake up. So yeah, great answer there, WMTxLady. What about you, Brian? What would you say? I guess let's not do one sentence, right?
Oh, I can do one.
Let's not make
I
it
can
too
do one
hard.
sentence.
Okay, let's do one sentence. What would you say
I've
to
been-
someone
yeah.
that hates crypto? What would you say to them if you had to explain World Mobile to them?
World Mobile is a new economic model that can give internet to the 2.6 billion people who are left offline. That's, I feel like, the most I can do in one sentence. Because there's two elements there. It's I think, and this is what I was actually just explaining to one of my partners earlier this week, is the real innovation of World Mobile is its economic model. Like, it is the thing that World Mobile has created above everything else is the economic model, right? And the application of the economic model to telecoms, right? The sharing economy existed 2009 with Uber, Airbnb, and with the Satoshi white paper. Those were convergences that allowed sharing economy to come into play. And World Mobile's core innovation is applying that sharing economy to this market vertical, and that has nothing to do with crypto. The addition of blockchain native elements increases the efficiency of that implementation, but that's not the core innovation.
Great answer there. We appreciate it. You're getting some praise in the comments right there. And someone's asking if owning one EarthNode is enough.
I'm not the person to ask that.
Probably not.
I'm not the person to answer that, I mean.
Yeah, Brian is not the person to answer that question, but
yeah.
We do have another question that has been highlighted. What's your contingency of user growth? What's your contingency if user growth doesn't initially meet expectations? Do you have a pivot plan to sustain value in the interim?
Is that a question for me specifically? Or is that more of like how does World Mobile sustain value for its platform as a whole?
I think it's more for you since you have investors, you're responsible for handling their money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. As you can see, yeah. Well, I mean, essentially, the short answer is that for the short term, there is no contingency by definition, because I'm choosing to, make a high conviction bet on this moment in history, which seems to be very unique and a closing window of opportunity to capitalize on the convergence of, the demonstrated acceleration and pace of growth aligning with an EarthNode market that feels very undervalued relative to the demonstrated pace of growth. So yeah, the short answer is no. There is very concentration risk taken on, and I've definitely explained that to partners. But fortunately, I mean, it is just World Mobile is just too good. It's just too good, and understanding EarthNodes is such a clear opportunity that I felt that the interim concentration risk was worth it. So yeah, I hope that answers how I think about it. Yeah.
What I think is really interesting here is you've shared some numbers, and some of these things that you posted. I mean, it's like you said, it's really simplified down. We've talked about these things in the past, about some of these possibilities. Talking 7 to 10% of the revenue coming into World Mobile, regardless of where they're at, in terms of customer numbers and revenue coming back to the EarthNode network. We haven't even begun to discuss what happens when they are taking a significant percentage of their revenue for token buybacks, for internet operators, for network builders. I mean, there's a lot of potential. This is just one facet of it, and what I think is very compelling is, you make a really good argument for why somebody would want to be an EarthNode operator, why somebody would want to have that possibility, and why having a fund taking other people's money, other people's investments, and finding ways to capitalize it. I mean, you shared there with let's just go back to this table here. I'm gonna pull back up just one more time because Mickey has talked about having um 3 million customers here within the next 18 months to 2 years. um if you get to that 1.5 million mark, look at the implied value per earth node, $480,000. But you talked about the average buy-in price has been typically 25 to 40, plus they have that baked in 100,000 tokens right there, so there's already an implied value within it, not even talking about the monthly earnings, the possible speculation that goes with it. So I think, and there's different values. This is we'll call it speculative because we don't know what the rewards are going to be. We don't know what all this is going to look like. There's some more things that, dare I say, are fixed when we talk about the air nodes, specifically with the sparks in Pakistan right now, because we know that different nodes are going to produce differently based on their usage. For example, with network builders, something that happens in my hometown might not get the same income generation or usage as something that happens where you're located, just because of the positioning of it. So we don't know exactly what the air nodes are going to do. We don't know exactly what the earth nodes are going to do. But like you said, with the earth nodes, divide by 1,000, all things being equal, there's massive opportunity as customers on board. And then again, as Sandra, I'm sorry, as we were talking earlier with the network builder portion of things, we mentioned kind of the McDonald's franchise. You're free to do with that franchise what you want. Some people are going to hit it harder than others, and they're going to be more successful. Some people are going to offer more value with their earth nodes. They're going to be more lucrative because they offer more avenues for income streams. But um I think you have the network builder option, you have the air node option, you have the earth node option, you have the token holder option, the number go up. You have options where you can literally just get an affiliate code from World Mobile and get people signed up and earn based on people paying their phone bills. And again, the scale is different for all of these things, and the percentages are different. We look at these numbers. If you paid $24,000 for your Earth node, but the valuation's $480,000, what is that? That's a 20x valuation right there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you get 35% on Spark Air nodes. That's more, like I said, dare I say, fixed. But again, there's different models for different opportunities here within the World Mobile ecosystem, and there's not necessarily one that's right, but it's what's your comfort level, what can you afford to do, what's something that you're do you want to be hands-on, do you want to buy earth nodes and operate them, do you want to have a network builder and go out and find people, do you want to own something? And I know the word passive isn't, it's kind of frowned upon, but in Pakistan you're not really doing a whole lot with those nodes. People are, world calls kind of handle them for you. So I think there's different levels to what World Mobile offers, and it's more what your comfort level is. I know that WMTxLady mentioned that she needs to leave here very, very shortly, so wanted to try to bring things in a little bit here. But maybe as we start to close the show up, lady, if you need to jump off first, we can get some final thoughts from you, or just maybe even point us in the direction that we should close the show in if you want to.
Yeah, sorry, it's after midnight where I am, so I'm getting a little tired. But yeah, it was super interesting getting that point of view on EarthNodes, because I have to admit sometimes I get some direct messages on X of people asking me questions on EarthNodes, and I've said before, I am not an EarthNode operator, so I will make sure to forward them your analysis. But I think that we can all agree that if we reach a certain level of adoption, each layer on the World Mobile Network is just going to be explosive and is going to have that X multiplier on return. So yeah, I mean, it just confirms that each time that we do an analysis on a certain layer of the World Mobile project, yeah, the upside is just enormous.
Brian, before we start to go in the direction of closing up, do you have anything else that you want to share with everyone watching, whether it's EarthNode related, whether it's about Chrysalis Capital, just anything you want to put out there before we start to wind things down?
No, Rob, I think I've pretty much, gotten the opportunity and to say everything I wanted to say. And I want to say thanks for having me on. This has been super, super fun. Like it's, I've been very more on the anonymous or more isolated side over the years, and only recently started to introduce myself to the EarthNode operator community in particular on Discord the past several months. So this has just been a fantastic and very, very fun way of taking one more step to be a bit more public facing and share my thoughts and communication skills with the broader, World Mobile community, and also hopefully get people excited who've never learned about it or who are just learning about World Mobile. So yeah, this has just been super fun, and yeah, I can't wait for the next time.
We did have a few comments about when you were showing the valuation, talking about just imagine if you added Unity and everything that Minutes Network and the other partner chains bring in to the World Mobile chain, what that can mean for additional revenue for the EarthNodes. So I think there's a lot of excitement here as things start to build and grow and expand on the World Mobile chain. One person did ask, is there a way for the community to invest in your EarthNode operation fund?
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, based on the regulatory structure of my fund, I'm a private investment fund, and I am existing under the specific SEC Regulation D Rule 506B. Doesn't matter. All that it means is I don't have to register with the SEC, but that means I can't solicit public investment or I can't publicly solicit investor interest. So I definitely want to avoid any sort of like fundraising channel that might come from a public place such as this. So unfortunately, I can't use a platform like this to raise funds. And yeah, my fund is relatively small. It's 25 people now, people I know personally, just through word of mouth. So that's sort of the nice sweet spot for me. And but yeah, unfortunately, can't publicly solicit any investors.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for that. I guess, we've been going for almost an hour and a half at this point, and I'd love to get some final thoughts as we go to close out the show. WMTxLady, if you wouldn't mind going first, just kind of share your thoughts on the space, your thoughts on World Mobile, what's going on in the near future with all the hype and the teasers and everything. Just what are your thoughts on the space, and what are you excited about?
Well, I think it was Andrew who mentioned on X that he's going to go to the US. So I think that with the teaser that we have signed up an A+ celebrity, I'm really curious to see what numbers that is going to give us. For the rest, yeah, I know that there are a lot of stuff happening in the backgrounds with EarthNode operators, with integration of other projects on World Mobile Chain, with network builders, the next batch of auctions going live. So I think that it's just going to be an accumulation month after month where we hopefully see the metrics that Brian just showed that went up to December 2025. If we look back in 2026, I think that we can see another mega explosion happening this year. So really looking forward to all of that.
Awesome. And Brian, same question for you. What thoughts on the show, and what has you excited moving forward?
Yeah, I've loved being on the show. I definitely hope to do it again and just like WMTxLady said, there's so much to look forward to with World Mobile, and just all the elements from Stratosphere to Network Builder to top-down growth from celebrities, bottom-up growth from more EarthNodes in Pakistan, Philippines, you name it. And so the future, yeah, there's a lot we can think about. But I think something that I keep coming back to is just trying to wrap my head around and fully understand and value the work that has already been done. What has already happened? What is the value that has already been created? And I think that is it's a super helpful exercise. And, I hope, people can look at the blog that I released, because it's, I think, really helpful to get people going to understand. And I think for me, the reality is World Mobile has already become an absolute bastion of mass adoption. And in my article, I talk about this great filter moment, which is how I think about it in terms of when they connected Operation AirNode, which was the AirNodes in East Africa and in Pakistan, when they connected those AirNodes with real world users to the World Mobile chain settlement layer. And they brought, those 2 million plus, now over 2.6 million users on directly on World Mobile chain. I think that moment will forever be underappreciated, because I think that is actually the first historical example of blockchain mass adoption. And I just want to make that very clear, that that is something I believe, and that does, set the stage for incredible growth and more mass adoption from the blockchain side. But yeah, I just think the value that has already been created is absolutely astronomical. And like WMTxLady was saying, there's so much more explosive growth to come, hopefully in 2026.
Awesome. Cal, what are your thoughts on the show, and what is he excited for this next week?
Yeah, I think this show is absolutely super incredible and very powerful. I want to thank you, WMTxLady, for coming on, and as well as you, Brian. And I really like the fact that you have kind of been a bit more public lately with your presence. So I can see that a lot of people from the crowd are being appreciative of that. And yeah, thank you both for bringing depth to this conversation. I feel like the show was an hour and a half now, but to me, at least, it doesn't feel like it was an hour and a half. Like, I learned so much from both of you. You guys are pillars to this community. So please always feel welcome to come back to our show. And I encourage everyone to follow WMTxLady on X. I know, Brian, you created an X account, but you're more active on Discord and Telegram. So if anyone wants to reach Brian, feel free to reach out to him on DMs there. And yeah, I mean, you guys said it well. I'm not going to repeat it. We all know what's coming this year. This year is going to be a massive, massive year for World Mobile, for World Mobile chain, for the token. We all know what happens when markets like United States and Korea and Mexico and these high ARPU markets come on, and what they do for growth for the token, and growth for the actual project and for the entire sharing economy. So I'm personally really looking forward to it. I mean, I've been here from day one, so I know that this moment of growth and massive growth that Mickey talks about, it's going to be celebrated by many, including myself. So exciting times ahead, as EP Node says. So absolutely 100%. Thank you again both for being here. I wish everyone an absolutely amazing Valentine's Day, and I'm looking forward to our next show.
Absolutely. And folks, I apologize for kind of being under the weather. I kept turning the camera off so I could, go and stuff. Great show. And again, it's one, Cal, that we didn't really have to participate in. These two, like, so they can carry their own shows. And so we're grateful that you're both here. Very easy show for us. Very, very thankful for everyone that has paid attention, participated by making comments and tuning in on your Saturdays on Valentine's Day. Again, I think this just adds layers of depth to this World Mobile ecosystem, talking about the EarthNodes, talking about the possibilities. And I'm looking forward to the next time that we can all get together and do this. So again, great show. You guys are both amazing guests, Lady and Brian. Amazing guests. We're thankful for you. Cal, I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to in the next week. About 10 minutes ago, I got a message from Mickey that said, "Sorry I couldn't make it today. Pencil me in for the X Space next weekend." So, really looking forward to having Mickey come and join us next week on X. We'll be doing it at, let's see, what is that? 12 Eastern time. So what is that? It's I think is it 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. UTC? I think it's 5 p.m. UTC.
Somewhere around there.
But we'll be on X next Saturday, the 21st. And Mickey told us to pencil him in. So I'm outing him publicly about that, just so we can shame him if in case he tries to get busy or something. But otherwise, folks, thankful that you're here. Cal, we also, we talked about this at the beginning of the show, but you designed a t-shirt this week using a quote a post that Mickey made. And we had somebody during the show buy one of those. So the first sale for the You Are the Signal t-shirt available at worldmobilers.base.eth. So go there, grab your merch, grab your EarthNodes, and be on the lookout for next week as we announce a public contest for designing merch for the store. So looking forward to that as well. But anyways, folks, thanks for being here. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to everyone very, very soon.